Let's go over a few little hints and warnings about writing proofs. And these are based on some things that I've noticed in my students when they're first trying to write some proofs out. And remember, writing proofs is really the main goal of a geometry class like this. It's much more about the logic and structure of the proof writing, and what's going on in geometry is much more important than the geometry itself. So here's some hints, suggestions, cautions when writing proofs and working through some of the homework tasks for my class based on the problems I've encountered with former student solutions on similar problems. First, be sure that you only use the postulates that are actually needed as reasons for a proof. Okay? On the other hand, be sure that you justify each statement carefully. Be careful on the use of terms. One student can use the word supposition, which is something to be supposed, perhaps to be later contradicted, proof by contradiction, with the word proposition, which is something to be proved. Another confusion was the difference between the words distinct and unique. Distinct means different, unique means exactly one. When we're building a model, we must start with an existence postulate so that we have some points or lines to begin with. However, in proving conditional statements, such as like propositions 2 through 5 in our neutral geometry or unified geometry, you should usually start by stating the hypothesis of the theorem and give given hypothesis as the reason. The vast majority of propositions are conditional statements, so their proofs will start with a given hypothesis. Building a model is an exception to that. When you're proving a conditional proposition, again, almost all of them, be sure that you keep track of what you start with, the hypothesis, and what you're trying to prove, the conclusion. Your first statement should be the hypothesis, and the last statement should be the conclusion. The other statements should advance the proof, moving from the statement to statement, linking one statement to the next, or earlier statements to the next statement, with a chain of statements and justifications. One thing you absolutely cannot do is use the proposition you're trying to prove as a reason in the proof of the proposition. This is a very serious error, and which will likely result in 0 points awarded for the proof. Okay. However, see the point above that you do use part of that statement. You use the hypothesis as your first step, and you use the conclusion as your last step, but you never use the whole statement as a reason anywhere in your proof. Watch notation. For example, if A and B are points, then the set containing A and B is a set of 2 points. This set might be a line, but it might simply be a subset of a line. So we're talking about this right here. That might be a line, or it might be a subset of a line, or it could even be a non-collinear set of points. It depends on the postulates and the points chosen. It depends on the geometry you're in. If there exists a unique line containing points A and B, then we call it line AB with this notation when it's convenient. However, we never use a notation like this for a line containing 3 points. This is going to represent this like AB with the little thing over it. That's called the line. Will be a line segment. We're going to study that concept next week. And if we just do AB with nothing over it, that's going to represent a real number, the distance from A to B. Again, a topic we'll get into next week. Also notice that there's a big difference in saying set containing AB is a subset of line L, right? And saying, in other words, L contains A and B, and saying L equals the set A and B. The last one indicates that the line contains exactly these 2 points, no more and no less. The first one says the line contains these 2 points, but maybe more, maybe not more. If you use this notation here, this implies that A and B and C are distinct points or distinct objects, in our case probably points, since they're the same element of a set is never listed twice. Some other terminology, furthermore, points are on lines and in planes, perhaps. Watch grammar. Proof is a noun, prove is a verb. Exist is plural, and exists is singular. If the existent postulate says that a line exists, then give it a name, such as, say, line L. Typically, we use lowercase italic letters for lines and planes, and uppercase, probably non-italic or italic, doesn't matter, but uppercase letters for points. You cannot begin by naming a given line AB, because this indicates the line is uniquely determined by 2 points A and B, which exist. If you're going to use that name like this, AB with the little symbol over it for line, you must first establish that A and B are distinct points, and if there's exactly one line containing them. If the proof just says there exists a line, you can't call it that yet because you don't know if there's any points on it or how many points are on it or whatever. When writing a multi-column proof, be sure that you don't just give the name of a postulate or previously proved proposition as an entire reason for a step. Unless it's an existence postulate, postulates by themselves do not justify any statements. What we must first establish the hypothesis of the postulates is satisfied in an earlier statement before we can use it. And you can document this in your reasons. For example, postulate 6 is an insufficient reason, but postulate 6 in step 2 could be a sufficient reason if the statement is the conclusion of postulate 6 that you're justifying, and the step 2 established that the hypothesis of postulate 6 has been verified. And for now, let's also include the statement of the postulate in the reason. Instead of just saying postulate 6 in step 2, say step 2 in postulate 6. Given any two distinct points, there exists exactly one line that contains both of them. This is going to be a simple copy and paste from our list of postulates and propositions, so we're not asking you to write or type a lot in. You can make an exception when the postulates are listed on the same page as the proof. If they're just right above that, and you can look up there to see what postulate 2 is, that's fine. You could just say postulate 2. The little square for QED should be copied and pasted or selected from the equation symbols drop down and placed at the end of each proof. So those are just a few little things for writing proofs.